I'm Alison Mason.
I'm Stanley Bradley, and we're friends turned Framily, getting together to tell stories, laugh, observe, and think.
This is the Framily meeting. All right, well, here we are, season 2.
Woo-hoo!
Very excited. We had a really nice break, and I'm really glad that we did not advertise when we were coming back, because this was the ordained moment to come back. We got the good break that we needed.
Yeah.
And we have so many new things this season. Obviously, if you're watching us on YouTube, that's one. And that also indicates that I was successful in turning this into something viewable. So yay me. And then 2, we have guests with us. And so we're super excited that this season we're going to be tackling the same 8 topics, but with members of our family joining us. And so that is something that we have been looking forward to all the break, setting up operations and logistics and mailing things and making Google Docs. So many Google Docs.
So many Google Docs.
And so we're super excited to welcome our first guest. Stan, take it away.
Hey, everybody. So our first guest is somebody I have known for, over half my life, which is, if you put it like that, a really long time. But that's cool. She was probably the first, I would say one of the first members of my family, somebody outside of the immediate Bradley Miller Ragland clan. So it's my friend and soon to be your friend too, Tiavalya. What's going on?
Hi, Stanley. Hi.
How are you?
Hey.
I'm good. I'm great.
Okay, so here we are. She's our first guest. So we're just gonna try this. She's gonna go first. She's gonna tell us a little bit about how she connected with me, and then through me, Alison, and then we'll just go from there and kick off our conversation.
So I know Stanley from high school. We went to all Black high school, but we were like the cool Black nerds, I think, of the group.
I can get with that.
Yeah.
I was probably a little more nerdy than you were.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You were super cool. I was nerdy. It was high school. I'm fine with that.
No, Stan was like such a scholar in high school, and just in all the things. And then we really connected because we went to prom. Stan asked me to prom when I was a sophomore and he was a senior, and that was like a really big deal.
I did not know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, I was
That's
like,
amazing.
Yeah, I was like, she's cool. I'm like, I'm gonna ask her to prom.
It was like, I think we were only 2 sophomores that year that went to prom.
You and Patrice, right?
No, a girl named Tamika went with LeBaron. Do you remember that? Ooh.
That's the other podcast.
So I mean, and then after high school, Stan went on to Morehouse, and a few years later, I went to Spelman, and we just have been so connected since then, I think.
Yeah. So what I'm going to tell people is I'm going to go back, and this is really weird, but when we first met, what we realized is that our parents and families had known each other even before that. Because I remember when I went to your house, I think your dad was like, "That's Charles' boy." And I was like, "How do you know that?" He's like, "I know Charles and Audrey." And that's the way it is where we grew up. Yeah. Is like people, even though we just met in high school, they knew each other from way back. So
yeah, for sure. And I think that was one of the reasons they were okay with me going to prom, because they knew your family. They're like, okay, he's a good kid. They're from, the country. So.
Yeah. They're from an approved list.
Yes.
So we've been knowing each other ever since then. And then you met Alison at my 30th birthday party, right?
I swear, I think that was the first time. Like, I had heard about Alison, but you had like this really cute party, and like there were all these, like, I remember we had a craft, we made that picture frame, and there were, I think was there like a blue theme?
It was blue, because blue is my favorite color.
Like, yes, maybe.
There was like blue curacao.
Yes, that was like the signature drink.
I remember, because I was like, what is curacao? Like, they're so fancy. So I remember that, and I remember us doing like, what's that? Crank that. like the Soldier Boy song. Do you remember that, Stan?
I do. I
You
remember
were in like the living room dancing
getting
hard.
it in.
That was your jam.
That was Soldier Boy. Ugh.
Like you and all your teacher friends, like y'all were just.
We were
like,
getting it in. Yes. I'm gonna say that started Alison's creative empire because that was an awesome party. So we're gonna start that as the.
I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take it. I mean, there were 2 cakes. I distinctly remember that there were multiple cakes, and then we had like a whole name for it. It was called like SRB 3.0.
Yeah, no, it was.
Invitations were mailed, and
yes, like
it
I
was a lot.
went to Atlanta. I remember.
Yeah, because you were still in DC, right?
Yes, I was in DC. I remember I missed my flight too, and so I got there kind of late. But I remember, so that was epic. Thanks to Alison.
There you go. So that's how we've all been connected, I think. So fast forward, it's 2021. That's been almost 13 years ago. I'm 43 now, y'all. Anyway, we'll skip that subject. What's going on with you now? What are you up to these days?
So now I'm back in our hometown, in Huntsville, and I'm a mother, a wife, and a mother. I have 2 children, and I have a photography business. I do portraits and headshots mainly, but since the pandemic, I started quilting. So I've developed this technique to turn pictures into portrait quilts, if people can kind of wrap their minds around that. And
wow.
That's the sauce, girl. That's the secret sauce.
You can't tell us. Okay.
Right. But so I've been doing that, and it's just like kind of taken off. And it was like the perfect pandemic hobby, because I didn't have to, be around people, and I could just, do my thing. And I posted a picture of a quilt I made for my mom. I just was like, oh, I have this idea. I'm just gonna bring out the sewing machine and watch some YouTube videos and figure stuff out. And I made her a quilt, and I posted that on Facebook. And since then, I've been booked. Thank you, Jesus. Wow. And I entered an art competition, a folk art competition locally. So now I have 5 quilts at a downtown, it's like a historic site. It's like a hardware store, but they're doing an art exhibit there. And all my quilts are kind of about Black excellence. They kind of profile, a few profile some great African-American women, Rosa Parks, Stacey Abrams, Amanda Gorman. And then I have some pictures of some African tulips. They're tulips using African fabric. So I've just been, I don't know, just
booked and busy
stuff. Yeah, booked and busy. Yeah, booked and busy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So if you haven't figured out, my Framily shoot thing is to choose people who are super creative. So that's what I do. So I choose the creative ones, and I let them create, and then I boost them up. So that's what I do.
I love it. Love it.
Oh, that's cool. I had seen a little bit of what you were doing on Instagram, and so it's cool to hear kind of how that started and what you're up to now. That's awesome.
Thank you. It's just it's just taken off, and I'm just totally I guess I'm just obsessed with it. And I don't know a lot about the quilting community or textile arts, but I think I'm taking kind of a way of the Gen Z, the millennials, how they just go for stuff, and they're just no holds barred. So I'm just going for it,
Yeah. There's a lot of people who are making quilts who are not as good as you and making money.
Thank you.
So,
thank you.
Yeah, do it. That's what's up.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty awesome. And you talked a little bit about community and, thinking about Framily. Clearly you and I are Framily. How do you define that term? What is that for you? When I say Framily, what are you thinking about?
It's just I think it's when the lines get blurred between your family and friends. You just have your homies, like your people who are down for you, ride or die. They know your family too, right? So in my case, like, you know, our parents knew each other. Your parents spoiled me, and I spent a lot of time with them. So like, they know your family dynamic, they know your family background, but they're just so close to you, you know, and you just always have, you know, a connection with people. Sometimes they're like your sounding board, you know, when your family's acting crazy, and you can like call your friend and like tell them all the drama, and like, you know, Stan can like say something that happened like 20 years ago. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. Like, you know, it's just like that connection that like has your back, but just can be a friend that's close enough, you know, you're welcome to Thanksgiving dinner, you know, without they're like, who is that? Like, oh, that's Tia, that's Stan. Like, you know, it's just that really like that close connection.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I know you have, because I've met them. I know you have your girls from college who you are really tight with. What keeps y'all connected, like overall, like, because that's been a few years since we've all graduated from school.
Yeah.
We'll be nice and say a few years. How do y'all sustain that connection, or has it changed over time a little bit?
I mean, no, I think we still try to keep close, you know. Things have changed, you know. Back in the day, we used to like talk on the phone, and you know, you remember those days, like, but now it's like, you know, it's a little more texting because people, you know, have families and jobs and busy. But you know, we have that group chat. The text group chat is huge, you know. It's like we're talking college gossip, you know, TV shows we're watching, you know, husband and kid drama, family drama, you know, aging parents, you know, it's going in the group chat. We're sending memes, we're on Instagram, like, you know, sharing stories and all kinds of stuff. I think we're just always trying to stay connected. We have Zoom check-ins, you know, like we'll just have like a girls Zoom. Everybody's just checking in, see how we're doing. But, you know, it takes work, right?
For sure.
It takes work to keep connected, but we're always trying to like reach out, you know. It's like, I think Allison's like this too, like, you know, oh, I had a dream about someone.
Yes.
Right. And so it's just like, if you have that dream, then you text that person, be like, girl, you're just on my mind. Like, how are you doing? You know, that's how we just, you know, you just have to put forth the effort.
Now, see, that's interesting because I don't know that dudes do that. Like, I live like you're not like, I mean, even if you have a dream about somebody, I don't know if you're necessarily reaching out. And I'm one of those people, I'm not one of those huge, like, men are from Mars, women are from Venus kind of thing. But I do think that is a difference. I feel like for some reason I think you guys do better, and maybe it's a cultural thing, at staying connected. Because Alison, you're real good at that, right? Like really being intentional about being connected to folks.
Yeah, but I guess one of my questions I have for you, Tia, we were talking about this before we started recording too, is like, as a mom, like, how does that change? Like, you know, because it's like you have these whole human beings that you got to keep alive, and that takes a lot of your time, all of your time. And so I'm curious, like, where do your girls fit into that?
I mean, it's hard, you know. I think it's a lot of, you know, texting and checking in during the day, or you're having conversations, you know, on the phone while you're yelling at your kid too. You know, like, I'm on the phone, move, or you're just, you know, doing that push away with your hand, you know, doing hand signals. But, you know, you do have to be intentional about it. But sometimes, like, we just do stuff when the kids go to bed. My kids go to bed at 8:00. So after 8 is, you know, mommy time to do what I need to do. And we'll, you know, sometimes our partners, my husband helps, like if we have dinner and like it conflicts with my girls Zoom, it's like, okay, dad's got dinner tonight and mommy's just going to go in the room and close the door so I can, you know, catch up with my friends, you know, but I mean, you have to make the time, right? So
always.
Yeah. But you know, once you, like, friends get it. Especially like after you have kids, like other moms get it. Like we get it. Like we know that we're hanging by a string some days. And sorry, I don't mean to scare anybody.
You already did. You already did. Paint a very bleak picture of this whole thing.
Girl.
I love my kids.
And if you're just listening to this and you didn't get to see the face that came with that sentence, go to YouTube right now and watch this, please.
In perpetuity, like, oh goodness, let me clean it up. I am such a family person. I am dedicated to my children and my husband and my parents and my brother, and I'm gonna
that you are. I can vouch for that. That you are. We get those Christmas cards every year at Raglan Circle. They're so cute.
That's advanced though. A Christmas card is advanced.
Well, we get them.
I tried. I honestly tried this year, and it's just me and Lance. And I took pictures, and that was it. There's a whole section of pictures on my phone. They didn't go anywhere. The best I can do is a family Instagram post. I'm like, happy or Merry Christmas from the Masons. And that's all.
That's good enough. That's good enough. I think I'm just old school, like tactile. And yeah, our Christmas cards are a big deal. Because
when do you shoot photos for them? Like now?
No, usually we do them like Thanksgiving. We start. Okay, if I'm really organized, I like to have them out the day after Thanksgiving, to be honest. So like you get the Christmas card and it can like last until the new year. Cause I usually do like a photo spread now. It's sometimes 10 pictures. So extra. Like I have to put you on our list. Like it's an accordion.
It's really cute. Yeah, it's really cute. And it's right there on the bookshelf right there.
You are like momming to the extreme.
But my kids are like horrible. Like I'll take like 50 pictures and get like one good shot because they're crying. They're like, are we done yet? It's awful. Like it is not pretty behind the scenes, but I like, because if the picture lives on your phone forever, then what? Like,
no, yeah.
It's there when you want to see it.
Right? Yeah.
No, but it's the Christmas card. Charles and Audrey look forward to the Christmas card.
Yeah. And people like get kind of sassy about them. Because like 2020, I didn't do a card. So I sent a 2021 New Year's card and people were like, where's my picture? And I'm like, what picture? They're like, the picture you sent. I was like, oh, the Christmas card? Oh, yeah, we didn't have it together this year. I'm sorry. Like
it was a global pandemic.
Relax.
Relax.
Right, relax. But yeah, it's a big deal. It's very Southern, maybe. I don't know if it's very Southern, but I feel like it's kind of Southern too. Like
it might
sending Christmas cards, like
because I'm firmly Midwestern, and there are definitely people I know who send them every year, but like that was never a thing. Like I don't think the Knowltons ever
really
Christmas card. No,
my mom when we were growing up, it was a little more like it wasn't photo shoots. But it was at least a card with all of our signatures on it until I went, sent to all the relatives. Like, no. And my grandmother used to keep hers on her mantle and she would put everybody's cards. And then like, if they filled up the mantle, then she would put them around the doorway.
Oh, wow.
And tap them up. And, she was older. So she got like literally 100 cards and would have them up. Yeah. And that was her way of keeping in touch with her folks. Right. Mm-hmm. And I'd be like, who is that? And she'd be like, and then how old people get. This is so-and-so. And I'm like, why did I ask who that is? Because clearly I don't know. But you're about to give me their family history.
Like, Alison, did people send like the the family newsletters? Did y'all ever get those?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, yeah. Again, I love all of that. And I aspire to that. But we'll see. Maybe when there's a little Mason, maybe we'll feel motivated.
You will, because you're like, you will because you'll want everybody to see the baby, and then everyone will want to see the baby.
Check with me in a couple of years.
I will.
So we wanted to start by kind of recapping some of the questions that we initially talked about, which is a couple that we've done so far, but then we were doing some more thinking about this and wanted to kind of deepen the conversation a little bit. And so one thing we were trying to think about and want to raise to you and then like talk about ourselves as well is like, how do we as people who like maintain an active family, like navigate challenges within that family? So I was like, Tia, you mentioned a couple things of like sometimes you have family drama that you take to your family, etc. But what are y'all's thoughts on like what to do when stuff comes up? Folks acting ugly or like, different like illnesses or different hard times that pop up.
For me, I mean, it's just about like, okay, I'll say for instance, I have a friend who is just kind of going through a hard time right now. And, it's just kind of hard to get a hold of her. And, she has like family stuff and, work stuff and aging parents. And I just sent her a card, like an old school card, because to say like, hey, I'm thinking of you. If you feel like you don't have anyone else, you have me, if I just want you to know, even if we don't talk, even if you're too busy to text, just know that I'm here for you. I love you. I'm praying for you. I'm sending out positive vibes, out in the world, just for you. And then, when things calm down, let's talk, let's catch up. But I think, it's just about, most of my family, like we don't act up too bad. I mean, Stan is like, kind of like, the worst about keeping in touch.
He really is. I just want everybody to know that. Really bad.
This is me crouching.
And I will like say, hey Alison, is Stan okay? Is everything all right? I hadn't heard from him.
Yep, that has to happen too sometimes, Stanley.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm looking sheepish. I'm sure you do. I'm looking sheepish. This is me. This is me owning it completely and fully. It's down there in the doc too.
Right. Sometimes you just need proof of life.
That's right. Yes.
Proof of life. And I just always want my friends to know, like, if they ever needed anything. I mean, my family, like my tight knit circle. If you ever needed anything, I'm gonna try to help you. So I mean, that's just my way.
Yeah, and I think thinking about that too, and as someone who, like you have clearly said, I can be a little bit self-contained sometimes. I think that's my nice way of putting it. I think that, where was I going with this? One of the things about growing older is I think trying to reconcile that being trying to keep that physical distance from not being an emotional distance, right? And really thinking about ways to do that. And it's one of the things that I will be perfectly honest, sometimes I struggle with, but you guys are good with keeping me in check. But also, like Tia was saying, just reaching that hand out and knowing that even if I'm not talking to you, I'm thinking about you and that connection is still there.
Yeah, it's interesting though. Like that makes me think about something that my therapist said to me about letting people accept your love in the way that works for them. Because I get real, and Stan and I, we've talked about this before, how I get an attitude sometimes because I'm like, I'm trying to love you. Respond. Like I'm trying to be in touch, and so there's like the good side of me doing that intentional communication. And there's like the snarky side where I'm like, how dare you not respond to my text message? But I think something I'm trying to learn and try to understand the balance of is like, at what point do you have to do that? Like, okay, I'm reaching out. And I, like you said, Tia, like, I want you to know that I'm here, and then let that be it and not assign any sort of like negative intention to that, right? So it's like Stan is not sitting around being like, ugh, I don't like Alison. Why does she keep texting me, right? Like you have your own ways that you accept the like care that I'm trying to give you, and I need to like let you accept my outreach in the way that works for you. I struggle sometimes because I am caring about you, damn it. Accept this care in the way that I want you to accept it, and that's not advanced. Like I'm like, let me figure that out.
No, I think I have very similar feelings, very similar, because the friend that I sent the card to, I was starting to get a little, like my feelings were starting to get a little hurt, and I kind of told her I would, we have these things we call like auntie moments where it's like one person is the auntie and like, I'm going to like tell you what you need to be told and you're going to receive it, you know? So I was like, hey, like your text game is slow. Like what? Like you don't answer the phone, number one.
Right.
And number two, you're slow to respond. And they're like, no. And so I just had to kind of take a step back, you know, and sometimes you just don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
Right.
You know, and I think we just have to kind of look outside of ourselves. But I get that feeling of being hurt, you know, just to say like, hey, like I know you on your phone.
Right.
Because you saw my I mean, I think that like that's maturity though. Like that comes with I think with age, with just, you know, that empathy, that radical empathy, right? Where you're like, okay, this is really not about me. Mm-hmm. This is about what that person is going through. Like you said, you don't know, even as close as we all are, like sometimes you just don't know what people are in the midst of, like what they're in the middle of. And that's like, if you can get to that point where you're just like, where it rolls off your back, kind of, you're practicing that radical empathy, and you're like there. And I don't know, like that is just something that it's just gonna take a while. Yeah.
And you know, the other thing I was gonna say is that I think I've reached the age that I've had several very close friends pass away. I've had at least 3 friends, you know, that didn't make it to their 40s. Some, you know, died mid-30s. And so I just feel a pull sometimes to just, I'm going to be that person that's going to reach out. You know, I'm going to be that person to check in. I've had one of my good friends pass, Trance, and Stan knew him very well. And he was just a workaholic. You know, he would just work. And I would always like, you know, I'm just always trying to check in on him. And, you know, we're talking about like, don't give yourself to work so much because, you know, if something were to happen, you know, they would replace you, you know,
a word.
Right away.
That's a word.
Right. You know, so it's like, I have to be very intentional because in my heart, because my friendships mean so much. At least I feel like it gives me peace to say, okay, I did my part. And when we do reconnect, then it's just like old times again. You know, no love is lost, and we pick up right where we left off.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. I mean, I think, like you said, it's all about, I think, just as we grow, cherishing those connections. Cause like we say in our title or whatever, that's what sustains us, right? Like these are the things like you said, even when I'm incommunicado, you know, as soon as we pick up, we're going to be on the phone for 2 hours.
Right.
Like, and the kids gonna be hungry, and then she gonna be like, I'm on phone with Stan.
Go get you a snack. Just go get some of the pantry. Like, I don't need care. Feed yourself. I come on the phone. I don't know when I'm gonna talk to him again.
And I know that's exactly what you tell Joey. That's exactly what you say. I'm not even mad.
So I think we have pointed to some of this already, but I feel like there is maybe can be like 1 or 2 things that feel like really important as you think about sustaining relationships. I think we talked about, you know, intention and like maturity, but what are some other, like, what would you say is like your key thing that like when you're like, this is like the thread that runs through my most important family relationships, like they're held together with this? What would you say, Tia?
Well, I mean, I can be pretty silly, you know, like I think like I am the person like this gonna like be the cut up. Laughter is huge, you know, like because I think, I don't know, I just feel as a busy mom and wife and, you know, entrepreneur, like I just need to laugh some days. Like things just get so heavy. Like I just want to be silly with my friends. You know, one of my girlfriends, we met in middle school, and like we still feel 12 years old on the inside. You know what I mean? Like we still laugh about the same silly stuff we laughed at a long time ago. And I had my friend actually that passed away, we would always talk about this one fight in school. These 2 girls, this is so silly, but these 2 girls got to fighting in Miss Bailey's class then. And she was like the sweetest little lady. And she was just like, calling their name, like, oh my God, I'm and so like we would call each other and say that, and it's just like we would just laugh for 5 minutes straight. So I think just sometimes just laughter, just keeping it light. I think that I can bring that. And also, like, I think the thing that kind of sustains us is just being that sounding board, like, just to bounce things off, or just to let it out to your friends. I know I have a group of girlfriends that I can just kind of lay it all down, whatever it is, and that helps keep us tight. I don't ever feel like if I'm struggling with something, I have to struggle with it by myself. Like, I can get in my own head and make myself anxious and, have FOMO, or I'm on social media, you might feel jealous and everybody's on vacation and I'm still in quarantine, and what is everybody else doing? For a friend to say, hey, you're doing what's right for your family. Don't worry about everything you see. I mean, they never tell us to log off because we still got to know what's going on. Just, being intentional about finding something that makes you happy and something that you can just be light about.
Yeah, no, I totally resonate with that. You mentioned being an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur, and like that can get so heavy sometimes. And it's like Lance and I were talking the other day, and I'm like, I get focused on my business, and it's like that's the best thing about our relationship is how silly we are and how much we laugh. And there are times when I like break away from that with just like the weight of my business. And I told him yesterday, I was like, if I get like that again, I was like, just put your hands on the side of my face and just like remind me that I like you, that like I do know how to laugh and smile and to relax. I was like, please just do that to me, because I'm trying to build an empire and it's rough sometimes.
Oh, it's totally rough. And I'm so glad you have that support, because that's that's everything, and even I know people do it without having a spouse or whatever. And if it's their family who's supporting their business or, any of that, that's just so important. I'm glad you have that.
Yeah. Stan, what about you? What would you say is kind of like the thread that sustains your family relationships?
To be honest, choosing good people. As evidenced by you two. No, and I'm very serious. I think like go ahead, there you go. Shine your halo. That's the first grade teacher coming out. But I think that as you get older and when you have to choose those people who will not only, like you said, keep it light, know when you need that lightness, know when you need that smack on the hand, like do better. You have to know who those people are, and then you have to intentionally choose to keep them around. And I think that is the thing. I think that is to choose people who you want around. And who you want to be around. And I think that's what I've done relatively well. And so, I think that's it. And the other thing I think is kind of piggyback off something both of you have said too, is just that idea of listening, of having somebody who will listen to you. I think I'm pretty good at listening, knowing when to be quiet and just let people, because sometimes you just need to talk. Like you already know whatever it is the resolution is in your head. You just need to talk it out and let somebody else hear it before you act on it. And I think for me, those two key things, choosing the right people and then listening to those people. Like even when they're smacking your hand, what they're telling you is right. And then being able to listen to them so that they can process and know what they're thinking is right. I think that for me, that's been the key. And I think like, if you line up all the people from my various families, whether it's people I've just recently worked with, or people from college or high school, or, that's the thread. There are all those people.
Yeah.
And I think Stan made a good point, because Stan has awesome friends, and he's had awesome friends that I've become friends with. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when you pick good people, and then it's fun to see when your group meshes with their group and your friends become friends. Like, I love that. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, the fact that Tia and I have each other's phone numbers in our phone for like, have you heard from him? No.
I think,
try again.
And I think that's gonna become a theme of the season. You need to go ahead and preview that.
It'd be like, have you heard from Stan? No.
that's the theme. So what if you talk to Stan? Oh, Stan. Yeah.
Do better. What are you doing all day? Like,
he's at the job that pays him.
I'm at the job that pays me.
oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah, I'm not an entrepreneur yet, so maybe I'll get on that train.
Is that coming?
I got to figure out what I can do. We still trying to work that part out. Right now, I will be the 9-to-5er.
Listen, somebody's got to do it.
That's right.
It's fine.
That's exactly right.
It's fine.
So for me, I will say my thread is creativity, which should surprise no one. But I like to apply creativity to connections, right? So it's like, when I was thinking about this, I was like, there are sort of like you said, Tia, like we used to call each other. Now I'm like, is my phone ringing? Why is that happening? But there's all these new ways to communicate. And there's like, in my mind, there's like some intuition that I apply about like what a relationship needs. And so it's like, yeah, I've been texting with you for a while. Actually, I need to look at your face. I'm gonna call you on a video chat now. Or like the tone of this text feels weird. Let me look at your face. And then I, over the years, have also, and this was just a little bit easier. It's not hard now, but a little bit easier to do as a single person. But I'm quick to hop on a plane to go to somebody. I'm like, something happened, here I come. Like, and that has been returned to me as well, across my life. So, there's like, I remember, and I was looking through some old emails and saw this not too long ago, but like after my dad passed, one of my best friends was like, I can come to the funeral if you want me there for support on that day, but I also know that you need to pack up that house. And so I could also come a couple weeks later and help you pack boxes. And I was like, yep, I don't need you at the funeral. There's going to be 1 million people at the funeral. Please come a couple weeks later and, sit with me while I cry and pack these boxes. And so that, sort of creativity and intuition of just like, what does this relationship need? And let me like direct my resources to whatever that is super important. Visiting people in their home, going somewhere with people. My friend John and I, we always travel together. And so just not always assuming that every relationship needs the same thing. And then like taking all of the many resources that we have to be in touch and applying it in whatever way feels appropriate at that time.
It just warms my heart. That's just that was such a beautiful act of like love, like just to come and I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
My dad says that a lot though. It's about the people, particularly like when something like that happens, like when somebody transitions, it's like, the people are going to be around like right around that time, but it's like 2 weeks later when you're by yourself, it's those people that, you really have a connection with. Because when everybody's gone and it's quiet and you just kind of look around and you're like, it's going to be a knock on the door one day. And it's just going to be somebody who's like, I was thinking about you, and you don't know how much that means until that happens. So
Right. So like, how much fried chicken do you really need at your house? Like at the food, like it's so much fried chicken and bottles of something.
I remember I was when my grandmother passed, I was like, there go the funeral chicken. It came. And you know this, when my grandmother, Pinky, because she was Southern. I mean, like, it's Southern.
Best name ever.
Yeah. And so like, I was like, I called, my mom was out running errands and I was like, there's the first funeral chicken. It came like 2 weeks. It came like 2 hours after. I was like, how y'all know?
Do you remember when I was vegan for a minute? I don't know if you remember this. This is like, 4 years ago.
Maybe
3 years ago, I was vegan, and then we had a death in our family, and someone bought that Publix fried chicken over, and I was like, vegan no more, because I have to have this chicken and this sympathy chicken, and it is exactly what I need
right now.
Like, it would be disrespectful for me not to eat this chicken.
Not to eat this chicken.
I need to eat this chicken.
And it's from Publix, like,
Yeah, that's
it's gonna be delicious. Like,
yeah, very good.
Oh yeah, you live in Publix headquarters. Oh yeah,
you know,
like
Publix chicken. I think they pump that smell into the parking lot.
Yeah.
Getting out the car, like,
you're like, what
I didn't even come in here for chicken.
Let me walk by this deli.
Why is that chicken so delicious? I mean, you know, it's if you can't get Popeyes, I mean, Publix
is a close second.
I'm gonna go ahead and say I put the Publix above the Popeyes.
Me too.
I'm not a spicy chicken person though.
I like a little spice.
Okay, now I can see the Popeyes if you like a little spice,
but the Publix chicken fingers, and this is so off topic, but the Publix chicken fingers are like very like meaty. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, they're like real chicken. Like
right. If you want bone in, I think Popeyes might have a leg up.
A leg up. On that note. What's up for you, Tia?
Oh my goodness. So my kids start school next week on Hope and a Prayer. Please put them on your prayer list.
Yep.
Because masks are optional. And so that's a whole nother issue. So what's up with me is getting my children ready for school, because they've been at home since March of 2020. And my son finished first grade. We did second grade at home virtually. And so now they're going back to school. So I spent all last night with my Cricut. I don't know if Alison is very creative.
I absolutely know what the Cricut is.
So I was like kind of anti-Cricut. And then one day I got a Cricut Joy. And it's like the teeny tiny small one. So I spent all last night. I made like water bottles for the teachers, and I put their names on them. Oh my
gosh.
And my daughter wanted a Hello Kitty backpack, and I was super last minute. I went to Target, of course, everything's gone. So I spent last night like doing like an iron-on Hello Kitty to her backpack and her pencil box. And like, why am I up doing this? Like, I could do this with a magic marker. Or she doesn't get the concept that you have to put your name on everything. So she thinks like I like to just sit there all day with like my label maker and my Cricut and
because you're gonna bring this book back home.
Listen, and you better not forget it in all your things. And and the other thing is, I don't get to watch a lot of TV, but I did watch this show on Netflix called My Unorthodox Life. Have y'all seen that?
I've seen the previews for it.
It's like reality TV, kind of like this lady left a traditional, Jewish community in New York. Like, she broke out, and now she runs this like model talent agency, in New York.
That's quite a pivot.
It is a pivot. And I don't know, I watched a few like Jewish shows on Netflix. I was like, am I being targeted? Like, what? Like, what's going on? But my other friend, she's like, oh, I watched it too. I was like, okay, maybe it's just a popular show, but it's very, very interesting. It's very interesting.
Okay. Maybe I'll check it out.
Super religious, like cult, like, that kind of stuff, like always kind of draws me in a little bit.
It's almost like leaving the Amish, right? Like, how the Amish,
oh yeah,
they kind of, I think it's that same concept. Like, once you leave the Amish, you can't come back and all that stuff.
Yeah, but this lady, I think, it's like, it's always fascinating. Like, she wore like the wig over her hair. Right. She had to be like completely covered all the time. And they aren't educated, the women just are raised to, have babies, take care of the home. And then, the men, the husbands are in the forefront. And she just totally like switched the game and just left. And like at my age, like she was like 42. Right.
See, that I didn't know.
Yeah. So you have to watch the show and let me know what you think. Okay. Let me know what y'all think. It's I think it's My Unorthodox Life. Oh, and there's this really fabulous gay guy on there. I kind of watch it for him, but he's like Southern, and he's just like a little over the top. So he's like very entertaining. I love him, Robert.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that sounds fun. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Stan, what about you?
For me, it is Never Have I Ever, the Mindy Kaling show. Well, executive produced by Mindy Kaling. I love it. I watched the first season in one sitting. And so season 2 just came out. And then I watched the second season in one sitting. I think it's a fun show. She's a jerk.
So wait, what is it about? Sorry.
So the premise of it is there's an Indian teenager, her dad dies. And so it's about her. She's like, in some ways, she's your stereotypical Asian teenager. She's top of her class. She, is very into that achievement. Like her goal is to go to Princeton. Like that's her main life goal. But her father passes. Her mother, so she and her father were close. She and her mother are like constantly at loggerheads. There's a love triangle involved. So there's her So, yeah.
Can I just say one thing about the love triangle? And this is why I struggle with Mindy Kaling sometimes. I used to watch her show. She only dates white men on her shows. And she is the producer of these shows. And so I just find that to be such an intentional decision that it disturbs me. And the fact that while you were just saying this, I was like, because I watched season 1, like I said before we started, we watched the first episode of season 2, and I'm like, there again, here are these white boys that she's with.
Oh, is it only white boys?
And I just don't understand. It's not that I have a problem with interracial relationships, but what I do have a problem with is this like just consistent, like I will only depict Indian women with white men. And I just don't get it.
Okay, so I will say that
the one guy is half Korean, excuse me. So
okay. Yeah, half Japanese.
Excuse me, half Japanese.
But I will say this second season, the cousin is
dating somebody.
She's dating an Indian person, and she's also about to be in her own triangle with 2 Indian men. And they have.
Oh, I didn't get that far.
Yeah, no, it's the end of the season. Spoiler alert.
Okay.
Cousin Devi is in that's not her. She's not
Kamala.
Cousin Kamala is about to be in a love triangle with 2 Indian men. Okay. And it's really interesting because I'm assuming they're going to explore the fact that one dude is more traditional than the other. Anyway.
Well, I think that's interesting you said that because like in the Indian culture, like they do a lot of arranged marriages and, it's about the 2 families so much coming together. Yeah. So I wonder.
Well, that's a subplot of season 2.
Okay.
Of the cousin subplot is like, she's in an arranged relationship, but she actually likes the guy, but like the guy's not a jerk. And it's not one of those, like they're getting to know each other from the arrangement. It's not like I meet you, bam, I get married. It's like, I meet you, we're going to get to know each other. He's not a jerk. He's not ugly. So it's like the progression of that relationship. And then it's like, and I've just spoiled this for anybody who's going to watch it.
I mean, you're spoiling it for me. I plan to finish it.
Well, okay. So I won't, but there's some tension there between tradition and what it means to be in America. But the other thing I like about it is I like the fact that Devi is a jerk. We don't get to see, she is. Part of it is she's a teenager and she's just making bad teenager choices. Part of it is that her and her mom do not have lots of things in common. And it's very clear. Like, I like that they show that relationship, that the mom is not like I shouldn't say she's not a great mom. The mom parenting is not like natural to her. Like she's not a nurturer the way most moms are portrayed on TV, right? Like she loves Devi. She does the best for her. But like you can tell that the dad was the nurturer, right? The dad was the one that was like, I love you. The dad was the one that's like, you're perfect the way you are. And mom is like, no, I want you to do your best. You need to go to Harvard. You need to go to Princeton. You need to stop making stupid decisions. Whereas dad would be like, no, that's the mom is like, The mom is you, Alison. She's like, why are you making stupid?
That's
like,
what I
why
want
are
to
you
tell her. I'm like, you are making the worst possible decision. Please stop.
The mom says that. Like, if you watch later on, the mom is like, why do you do these things?
Do better.
Yeah. Oh, and Niecy Nash as her therapist is amazing.
Oh, Niecy Nash is in?
Yeah. Like,
oh man,
there's so many random people.
Should we have led with that?
Yes, I love her.
Yeah. Niecy Nash is her therapist. It's awesome. Never have I ever get into it.
Oh, I might have to
get into it.
My watch list is so long on Netflix.
Let me add to it. So what's up for me this week is a show on Hulu called Everything is Going to Be Okay. And it was recommended by my friends across the street who have a neurodiverse son, and then recently learned that the father, I'm like saying it all weird because I don't want to say his name, but anyway, is also autistic. And so it's like about autistic characters. It is acted by people who are also autistic, which is very cool to experience, because I think I would have not liked it or even watched it if it was people playing autistic who are not. But it is fascinating. It's fascinating. It also is a little cringy at times, and you're like, like, why are they doing that? But it's great. And we got deep into that fast. And there's 2 seasons. We just finished the 2nd season, and we're like anxiously waiting for the 3rd. Again, it's on Hulu. It's really good. It's surprising, I would say. If you haven't had experience with autistic people, it feels different than for me, it felt different than what I think I thought. And so it's a great story. It's like a super interesting story, but then it also is just like a cool look at how autism can present when, there's sort of a narrative that I had only heard, and it added to that. So it's very good.
That's cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So we all got things to watch.
That's right.
No time to watch them.
you over there making labels and
right,
handmade
right,
bag.
Right. It's my fault.
Somebody take her Cricut. All right. Well, that is our show for today. Thank you, Tia, for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Such a delight.
Fun. Maybe we could just do a regular call.
Right, without recording it and putting it on the internet.
Yeah. If Alison schedules it, Stan will come.
Oh, that was shade.
That
was some shade.
Yes.
My ring light just went off from all that shade.
Support for this podcast comes from Lilacs on Your Creative Studios.
The Family Meeting is produced by me and Alison.
Our theme song is produced by Will Solua, entitled 135th and Coffee.
Yeah, tell us, how can people get in touch with you and see your amazing art?
You can follow me on Instagram. It's my first name, Tiavalya, Tiavalya. So at Tiavalya. And my website is tiavalya.com.
Awesome. And you can also check you out if you're in Huntsville, Alabama at the Harrison Brothers. Explain a little bit more about that. I know it's at Harrison Brothers
hardware store. So I'm in an exhibit called Rooted in History. It's currently at Harrison Brothers Hardware Store downtown on the square. My artwork will be there until the end of September. And then in October, I'm going to be in a show in the Shoals at the Tennessee Valley Arts Museum. So follow me on social, and I'll be updating you guys on that next exhibit.
All right. You can find the show notes on what we discussed, including links posted in the blog section on lilacsonyork.com.
You can keep up with the show on Instagram at lilacsonyork and on Twitter at the Framily Meeting. You can also now watch us have these conversations on the Lilacs on York channel on YouTube. You can find me on social at Alison K. Mason on IG and Twitter, even though I do not tweet.
You can find me on social at Twice11 on IG and Twitter, even though I do not post to IG.
Thanks for listening. Meet you here next week.
Bye.